Testing. Testing. Take down. Boy.
It's on engage.
All right, so that's for 2 to 4. All right, so we're gonna get started. My name is Donnie again, and I'm presenting with Will today.
Hello.
So I'm actually on call. So if at any point you see me run out of this room, it's because I have to answer a call. But Will here knows all of our slides, so he'll be able to continue the conversation. Sound good? All right. All right, so we're gonna delve into programming and effective techniques and resources that will help you become better planners. So the outline for this presentation is the purpose of programming, the logistics of planning a program, practice, marketing, and assessment. And so throughout this, you will have a packet in front of you that will guide you and will probably refer to at some point or another. So the purpose, what is the purpose of a program or event? You have a cheat sheet in your packet. Yes, Adam.
To establish and foster community.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
To engage people for like common goals.
Yeah, to engage people in a common goal. Anyone else? These are all correct answers. I don't want to be the only one that defines a program. I don't have to be the only one that defines it here in this room today. So if anybody has a different way of an approach to how they see programming and the way that you program on campus, let the room know, because this is a facilitated space and Will and I don't hold all the knowledge. You all hold tons of knowledge as well. So it's important that you all share that information so that everybody in here can exchange as much as possible.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what you all said: to develop a community, to educate, to learn, to grow, to involve students in their own learning, and to provide an outlet for release of emotions and energy. So obviously you all are working day in and day out, inside and outside of your classrooms. So it's nice to be able to share space with other people on this campus, to get to know one another, to get to learn about different cultures, to learn about different identities, to learn about ourselves. And we get to do all of that with the programming that you all, or a lot of you, put on throughout the year. So the community development, the 6 I's. This is just a strategy to help you think about community development in general. These are some things that that might be helpful for you to think about. And so with programming, you'll want to think about some of these things. So when I say introduction, what do you think I mean by that? When you introduce a program to people, once you're in a program, you're implementing it, what does that mean? What does an introduction look like?
Kind of giving the overview of what the program entails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really helpful to get the overview of what the program entails. So like letting people know where the bathrooms are, where the elevators are, where are the accessible entrances, where accessible pathways are. Letting people know the rules of the space. So PAC is planning a program today. Do you want to share about rule setting?
Sure, I like shameless plugs. Tonight we have a pool party at the Haas Gymnasium. It is from, I believe, 7 to 10, although I haven't read my own flyer in a while. So come on down, lots of fun. There's different sections, you know, shallow end, deep end, diving board. It's going to be a good time, music. And then in the field house, there's also games and inflatables, I believe. So, yeah.
So it'll be a good time. But so when William is putting that stuff out there, he's gonna have to set some goals, some rules, right? So like you can't just go straight into the deep end. You have to.
It is a swim test.
So any type of program that you put on, you're always gonna see like different rules and things like that. So not every program is going to have that, but if that is the case, that's something that you need to set early on. So interaction, opportunity for interaction. How do you create interaction during the programs? Or opportunity for it? Yep.
Can you plan activities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what kind of activities? What do they look like?
Kind of like icebreaker activities, or like when everyone introduces themselves, or different activities like team building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you incorporate team building activities, icebreakers, anything else that gets people moving and talking and mingling. You all are experts at this point, right? So I want to hear more. What do you all do to make people kind of get energized and engaged?
You often want to advertise programs in any sort of possible way. So you put out posters, flyers, you use Facebook, social media. Sometimes if you're really extreme, you might even put the poster in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So getting the word out. Yep.
People normally come if you offer like free food.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking about. When you offer food and you put food out there, people will come. That'll get people talking too, because it's like, oh, did you try the lasagna? That was really good.
Jumping off that, there's something in it for them, whether it's free food or they get to make something that they then get to keep or use, or extra credit if it's on the academic program.
Yeah, absolutely. So right after that event, if they can write a reflection on it, then that's another way of interaction, right? So involvement, encouraging, expecting, and rewarding member involvement. And so PAC has actually been talking about some of those things, so I'll let Will share a little bit about some of the initiatives that you all are working on.
Could you switch the microphone
Oh,
over?
yeah.
I forgot some of those things were.
Oh, flip it. It's backward.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You want the black line facing it.
Ah, okay. Cool. So some things PAC is working on is like a raffle for attendance, and every time you attend a meeting, you'll get a raffle ticket, and that raffle. So we have to get rid of our budget at the end of the year. It doesn't cycle over, so that means there's a lot of money left over from programs. We get people get big prizes, and we can make it one raffle, we can make it multiple raffles. We don't have a meeting time set up yet, but once we get a meeting time, we will make sure to post it. And if people want to come and listen to what else we have to say, that's also good. Another thing I was working on is challenge coins, just to have something to carry around with you all the time. It would have a logo, which we still need. But once that's settled, it's for members who plan something, go above and beyond what a normal member does. Because as an exec member, I have to do a lot of stuff. I have to attend all of my events, and members don't technically have to do that, and I have to be there for setup, breakdown, and if other members stay, they can get rewarded in many ways.
Cool. Thank you. And then, so moving forward from that, just thinking about influence. How do you allow members to choose how, where, and where they engage? And so your memberships are primarily responsible for that, right? So when you have people within your groups that are organizing these events, you're pitching the question. You're not necessarily deciding when and where based on your own observation. You're allowing the rest of the room to kind of take on and let you know where the best events are going to be held, where and what time. Having assessment as well, so like posting a survey on your Facebook group or having your survey on Engage. That is also another way that you can kind of get the message across. So you can decide when and where is the best time and what exactly should we be pitching. Because at the end of the day, people want to be able to know, want to feel a part of your program. And that's why things like the member coins, that could be helpful. And then investment, so clear boundaries, respect, care for others. And I think, obviously you all know what that means. So it's like making face, smiling, welcoming people as they're entering your program, making it seem like a friendly, vibrant environment.
Be hype.
What is it?
Be hype.
Be hype, exactly. Having a hype people, right, to kind of get the energy riled up. So that's one of the ways that you can get people invested in your program. So making sure that you have somebody at the entrance saying, "Hey, welcome. Thank you for coming to our event." That can be really important because that goes a long way to a lot of people. And then identity, unity, common purpose, and relating to the purpose of the event. So if people feel like they're part of your program, like this is a part of who they are and a part of their experience here at Wheaton, they're a lot more inclined to want to go to your event. Right? Anybody have any experiences that they want to share based on that? People that you've gotten involved, or people that like feel like really attached to your board or really attached to your club? Yeah.
Well, for a lot of the identity and cultural clubs, it directly relates to an individual's self-identity. So that acts as a safe space, places where people can go to engage in conversations that you necessarily might not get on a day-to-day basis.
And that's a fantastic example. So being able to work with people on campus who have that shared sense of community and shared sense of an identity, that goes such a long way because you start to develop a family, right? And that's really what you're getting at towards the end, is like developing your group of people that you can connect with. So one thing that one of the things that we've been working on campus is a leadership rubric. So if you turn to the last page, there's this page on here that's called leadership rubric. And this was developed by the student affairs staff team. So your student affairs team consisted of residence life, athletics, SAIL, people from the Center for Social Justice and Community Impact. This is only a first draft, so they're actually working to revamp this, but a lot of these components will stay on here. So these are some of the things that you can use to kind of, if you want to set learning outcomes for your programs, you can use these to kind of guide how and what you want people to gain from your activities. So to give you an example, values and clarification. So, how might someone learn more about their values after your program? If you teach them about environmentalism, they may leave that program with a different set of values, right? If you enter someone and you teach them about microaggressions, or you teach them about sexual health education, their approach to work and their lives, that's gonna change their outcomes and their view towards the way they treat their body, the way they treat other people's bodies, and so they're taking something away from that event, right? So other things on here: planning and organization, problem solving, responsibility, having a challenge course outside. You are learning responsibility, you are learning how to be part of a team, you are learning about yourself, about how to work with others. It may seem more fun and games, but at the end of the day, you are taking something away from it, right? So this is Bloom's taxonomy. Has anyone heard of this before? So Bloom's, you know what? Do you want to share?
I don't know the circle. I just heard.
So this basically helps you kind of develop learning outcomes as well. And so what this looks like is, depending on what you're getting at, you can use some of these words to frame your learning outcomes. So synthesis. So if you want people to kind of walk away and like be able to think critically, or think more critically about whatever it is that you're working on, you can use some of these words like compose, set up, collect, propose. If you want people to walk away from your event learning something and being able to apply it, so let's say you're a WISC and you're teaching people how to make omelets, then maybe you'll use some of these terms as well. So be able to demonstrate, illustrate, or show, or practice using a knife, practice using a blender, right? So, and this goes around the board as well for the rest of them. So this you can find online. This isn't the only place that you'll be able to see it. There'll be other places for you to see this as well. So one of the more important things of programming is hashing out the details. So these are the main details that you'll want to have at least in your flyer: title, location, time, date, and sentence. How many of you have seen a flyer on campus that says like a title and a location, and then you're like, wait, what time is it? Right? So that happens all the time. So these are the details that you want to have on all of your flyers. Make sure that people know what the event is about. Even if it's like one sentence or a couple of words, just explaining what your program is. The date, the time, these are essential details. So what are other important details, Will?
Oh, some other important details. I like visuals. I think, something eye-catching, something that really sticks out. So if it's a blue poster, maybe something that really contrasts that color, or just something like really random. I don't know, it could be a duck. And You're like, that has nothing to do with my event, but you see a duck and you're like, I kind of want to find out more about the event. There's some, I don't know if people have seen the pool party flyers around, but I thought those were pretty good. The big pink donut on there. Yes. I didn't make that. I can't take credit for the poster, but my colleagues up in Sale take credit for that one. Some other important details could also be a purpose. Just tell a little bit more about the event, why they're coming out there, what it has to offer. Prizes and rewards. I know a lot of people like free stuff. Last night we had a open tab at the Den. Could have been a little bit, more well advertised, but I think it's pretty successful nonetheless. But getting people out there saying, oh, there's a costume contest, or there's a, biggest splash contest, something like that, and saying, oh, we're gonna give out a prize, and you can keep it a mystery, you can give them a hint, doesn't really matter. And then food and decorations. Are we gonna be offering food tonight? Yes. In case you wanted to know, we have some food, light food and light refreshments. And decorations, we're gonna have some beach balls, inflatables in the field house. I guess, I don't know if those are decorations, but I count them.
I think so. So, so as an event coordinator, when I was working in school, a lot of the things that we'll do is we'll just put streamers up and balloons, and that was a simple 2-step decoration. And honestly, that can go a really long way, because when people are walking into your space and they start seeing balloons, you're already you're kind of priming them, right? You're kind of there's kind of a conditioning, right? You see balloons, you see streamers, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have fun, right? So keeping those things in mind, that will set your mood and get people in the energy level that you want them to be at. If they walk into a space and feel welcome and feel like this is the time I'm gonna have fun, people are gonna be a little bit more enthusiastic about it. So keeping those things in mind, sometimes that can go a really long way. So these are some of the main details. There are going to be lots more that you want to hash out with your groups when you're planning your event. We'll talk a little bit about planning an event. So what goes into the nuts and bolts and the nitty-gritty of planning an event? How do you plan an event? And I'll give you a hint. You do have some cheat sheets in your packet.
And there are no wrong answers. If you plan an event in any capacity, big, small.
This cheat sheet.
Mm-hmm. What does it involve to plan a successful event? Jessica?
Budgets.
Yeah, knowing your budget, that's really important. How much money do you have? What else should you know when you're planning an event? Yeah.
What kind of program you want to have?
Yeah, so what is your purpose? Going back to Bloom's taxonomy, right? What do you want people to learn? What do you want people to take away?
Different group members' availability.
Yeah, group members' availability. Who's going to attend the event? Who's the contact person?
Where are you going to do the event? So you have to reserve space.
Yeah, do I have to reserve a space? What's the best location on campus? Am I going to do it in front of Chase and attract a lot of first years, or am I going to do it in Emerson and attract a lot of upper class year students?
Date and time, and also knowing what's going on campus around that. It's a Monday, nobody's gonna come. Most likely, if it's a Thursday or Friday, most people are gonna come.
Yeah, you don't want to plan an event when there's a lot of classes happening, right?
Coordinate with others and see if there's someone else willing to do or a similar event with you.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of see if there's any cooperation between those two others, so you can get even more people over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So collaborating on an event, that goes a long way. You can save your resources, save time and energy. I saw a couple other hands that I didn't get to.
I was gonna say just know what kind of audience you're trying to attract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Know who your audience is. Who are you trying to bring into your space? What's your target market, right? Because if you don't know who you're trying to attract, you're not going to figure out any of those details. You're not going to know where to put it. You're not going to know when you want it, what time. So if you mostly want to attract posse students to your event, you're probably not going to want to do it on a Friday when they're having a meeting in the morning, right, or later in that day. So keeping those things in mind and checking. Does anyone know what the planning calendar is? The sale planning calendar?
What?
The sale planning calendar?
That's what the events.
Yep, so it lists all the events out. So if your president isn't aware of the sale planning calendar, that might be helpful for them. They can reach out to us and we can add them to the sale planning calendar. And that shows all of the events that are happening throughout the year. Not only that, but Olivia talked about the collaborative space. Do you all remember when she mentioned the Student Org Resource Center? In that room, there's a dry erase board that where we will be constructing calendars, and all of you, every club on campus will be able to write their events for the entire year so that you know when to plan, when not to plan. So that might be helpful. All right, so all the things you all listed, logistics. What are the decorations you're going to use? What kind of food do you want? Is it relevant to the event? Setup needs. Picking up the materials. Who's going to get the materials and when? You know, you may want to think about getting materials days in advance so that you're not scrambling the last minute. Preparation, tasks before the event, during event, and after. So you may want to show up to your program an hour in advance. And I wouldn't even say may, you definitely want to show up to your program an hour in advance so that you can set up things, because you have no idea how many things can go wrong within that hour. Your projector doesn't get set up, the computer stops working, the outlets burst, you know, the room is locked, public safety hasn't opened the room yet. There's so many things that you want to prepare for, and you want to get there early because of that.
All right, I'll take the next one. Marketing, that's a big thing. You know, get your event out there. Social media is a great way to do that. There's also posters, hanging them in just random locations that people may or may not see. Bathrooms is a good one, just because you know they're right there and you always have to go to the bathroom. So, just chalking. I know on the chalkboard in Balfour and in Chase, there's usually events listed there, and really some nice, really cool illustrations to kind of catch the eye there. And just word of mouth. A lot of people, you know, will call their friends and say, "Hey, get down here. There's a lot of cool things." So, you know, telling your friends, like, you know, tell one friend, tell 3 friends, tell as many as you can about events.
And one thing that we talk about in PAC is if you have 5 people on your team, and the average a person has 5 acquaintances / friends, you have 5 times 25, 5 times 5, right? So that's 25 people attending your program. So thinking about it that way, like if everybody took the initiative to like invite their one friend or give their one friend a flyer in your membership, you have the following that you need, right? And then assessment, program proposal, evaluation. One thing that I've created, and I have like some images here so that you can show, to kind of show you what that looks like, is the program proposal and evaluation form. So right now on Engage, there's a new portal called the Student Engagement Assistant Portal. And so I don't know if you all remember, I mentioned this earlier, but we're going to be hiring student engagement assistants. And so these student engagement assistants can walk you through this anytime you meet them inside the student org space. But we have the program proposal form here. So every club is going to be expected to create a program proposal for their event, and it's very quick. You can honestly finish it in under 5 minutes. But what that'll help you with is next year, your president can pull a report and see all of the programs you did, what vendors you used, what time and what date you used, what food you used, the quantity of food that you used, and that will help you in the future determine, okay, my president went abroad this year, however, I can pull up this report and see what we did last year in detail so that I don't have to recreate the wheel. This is really just to make things easier for you.
It's on Engage.
It's on Engage. It's called the program proposal form. The other useful tool that you can use is the evaluation form, which is also on this portal. And with the evaluation form is that'll also be helpful for your group, because guess what? You're not going to be here the past 4 years, right? But the people who are here after you, they can look back to these forms and say, hey, a couple of years ago we tried this event and only 10 people showed up. Maybe we shouldn't do this year. Last year we ordered $100 worth of food, and only 5 people showed up, and we only should have spent $50 worth of food. This evaluation form, you can write in how many people didn't use this much food. People didn't like this aspect of the program. People didn't like the balloons that we set up. People didn't like this setup. Whatever it is that didn't go well, you can write it on there. Whatever went really, really successfully, you can also write it on there. So 10 years from now, the ASA or the BSA, women's rugby, you all can look back at some of these evaluations and say, hey, when we went to Bridgewater State to compete against this other team, it didn't really go that successfully. When we did this other event we collaborated with this other group, we should have communicated better. Yeah.
So is this like a downloadable
So this is on Engage. However, on Engage, I will be adding all of the presidents to this page. And so the president could go on the Forms tab, and I can walk you through that later. And once you select Forms, there is a link that you press, and you can download it on a spreadsheet. Anyone have questions about that? So this is really just to make your lives easier, so I hope you all can recognize that. So, let's see. So the other thing that I wanted you all to look at is the conference and events form. I know this is something that a lot of people had questions about. So this year, this form will exist in Inside Wheaton. So once you log into Inside Wheaton, you can check the availability grid here, and see how many if anybody reserved the space that you have, or the space that you need. And anybody can look at this. This is just on Inside Wheaton. And the room reservation form will be right there. The student engagement assistants will be walking people through this. So if you need to plan an event, you'll be going through the student engagement assistants after September 15th or so. For now, you can work within your groups and use the knowledge that you all have, or you can email us and set up a meeting and we'll walk you through this form. But in the future, we will have peer advisors that will support you with this. So on this grid, this is how you reserve your form. It's really intuitive. All you have to do is once you go in, you put in what the location is, what the time, where you want it. Do you want media setup? Do you want food, et cetera, et cetera. Once you select the food tab, you can talk to Chris Vinson, and he will give you a menu options that you can choose from. For all AV location and mean details, you can find it all on there. So the other thing that will be useful for you as well is the Engage form. And on Engage, if you go to Manage, and if you're a club executive board member, you should have access to the Manage aspect of your form. So if you notice on Engage, there's like a waffle right here. There's like 9 squares. Has anyone not seen that before?
Wait, can I see? What's right there?
So usually, I cut it out on this image, but usually there's like 9 little squares right here on the top. Has anyone not seen that?
Yeah, no, it looks kind of like the Gmail thing where you want to switch between the mail side of things to Doc, etc.
Yeah, it looks just like the Gmail. It's like the application platform. So if you select that, you'll be able to decipher which one you want to use. And so if you go into your application under Manage, you can go under Events and then create an event. Has everyone not used this? Okay. So this is going to be really helpful for those of you who haven't seen this before, because when you submit this form, this automatically gets posted on the Wheaton web Engage page, and it gets posted on the website, and it gets posted on the chalkboards. And if you submit this and you don't have a flyer produced yet, you can work with our student engagement assistants to submit a flyer for you.
And so where do you submit the event form?
So you will submit it, once you go into the Manage tab, you click Events on the left-hand side. There's like this column that you will see once you hit Manage. You click on Events, and then you click Create an Event.
Okay.
And then you just follow the details along there. Does anyone need clarification on this, or is this cut and dry? All right, awesome. All right, so what I'd like you to do now is practice some of the things that we talked about. And you have a trip checklist on your packet. You have a event checklist. You have a marketing checklist. And you have a trip fact sheet that you can send out to your participants if they attend a trip with you. So use these resources, use what we just talked about, and we'll do groups of 8. Does that sound like a good number? So we'll count off by 8, and then you all can separate. We can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 in the middle. And then what I'd like you to do is hash some of these details out, create a program, and tell us what that program is going to look like. Identify a date, title, time, location, and a description. Discuss the concerns you need to talk about. Discuss what your learning outcomes will be, what are your setup needs, and what you can do to be proactive so that your event can go successfully. And this is so that you can get some practice, and so that you can talk to other people about what the event planning process looks like. So we can start with the inner row and then go towards the outer row.
And can my group go out in the hallway?
Yes. So Jessica's group will go out in the hallway. So we can start off with Jessica 1.
2, 4, 5, 6.
7.
1,
2, 3, 4, 5,
6.
7,
1, 2, 3, 4.
8. Do you want to do that row? The middle one?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, and then we'll start off. Just to make it easier, we'll just do this side.
1,
1.
1,
2.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
1,
2,
3, 4.
5, 6.
Okay. Does everyone have a group? All right. So one's outside, 2s, 3s, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you're going outside, maybe take a picture of the questions. And you can even write this information on the back of your packets. Just gonna do one more thing.
Oh, do you want
Just you can even leave it out here because we're gonna be talking. We're gonna talk once we get back.
Yeah. We're going to take this
And maybe I should go to my group. They're gonna know what it is on my
Just check the gear.
You're in general.
Need to go live.
WCCS. Call for you.
How are we going to do this?
And what
last time we didn't know how to store the ice cream properly. We did a bit of a mess because it was in the freezer, but then we
Well, I requested from PJ. I could PJ.
they thought it was more outside or I don't know about it. First we thought, I said, question you should ask yourselves is that like who's doing what duties, who's going to involve everyone, trying to get people to talk to each other. Who's in charge of making sure everybody gets ice cream, or few ice cream if you want.
That's a perfect matchup with the Lions.
Integrating cross-learning into the week. People that we could do keep all ice cream in the freezer.
What I've done before with German Club, because that's one of the executives before, is you can contact people who work in like dining hall, also like the head faculty of that, and I've gotten big food to store hot drinks so you can get like containers at the school and hot like
We didn't think of that. We just said, oh, let's get a lot of ice cream and shove it in the freezer.
Where's that? Where? I mean, I would also not be opposed to using the cafe area because that would be where you get food. And where's the we also have to have an exact date, like let's say it's the 6th. I'd say around 7 less or really winding down. And the labs are just finishing, so they just walk into that. I'm Adam.
I forgot to do the whole stuff. There should just be one person being
Start conversations with them more quickly. And if they see some students like isolating
Good, but wicked hot. Oh. Anyways, this concerns me thinking about audience. It's gonna try to extend kids. Again, that's where so the DJ comes in. I think that's where
shows the real shit is.
obviously that's DJ food is really simple. All I would do is grab one of the folding tables, put a couple chairs in, put in like those like paperboard signs that say "Live DJ," put in my Alexa, and put in my Mac with Spotify, and I can just come in and do what? It's not. I have access to everything.
Oh yeah, so we wouldn't have to see anybody else.
Very, very easy. I'm working at WCC at like, I'm sorry I was doing that wrong, but I think WCC has like, as t-shirts, actual streaming. I wanted you to get the students at WCC and actually show their passion and love for music and just talking, so I wanted DJs to ask about, get requests, get everyone. You know what? Why the hell not?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're not gonna bother you
Budget, food is the big one.
But yeah, it's kind of like a similar vibe.
Decorations. Those are cheap. You can get these at the dollar store. Really, I can just hop in the gas truck and just get stuff at the dollar store.
That actually kind of like has a different tone to it. Like, if you
The one you're working
people coming with their own dish, then you have everybody taking in a share. And that it like also goes to
For my club, those are the But that thing is, by putting it in that area, people will walk and say what's going on. And they'll see it's not food from the area and say like, ooh.
That's fine.
I'd say 10-15.
This was held on Monday.
Yeah, so maybe we could come on back.
I would just get like little, like, I would do apps personally. And fruit, drink. Those are two places you find at like dance parties.
Last year had some
Sorry, I cut so I just like, I know this stuff. Everyone thinks I'm friends right now. I'm sure. Anyway,
we might bring back
why are we? Well, why are we?
Queer and transgender people. Some of them do drugs, some of them are like working retail, some of them
Well, what I do usually, because here's the thing I used to do when I was DJing during my show. Unfortunately, what I would do is that I would advertise every single event that was happening at me, and even outside the club, because there was a little, there was like a food truck event out like just a couple blocks from the church. It was like, do you want to take it for guys, if you ever want to do that, like.
Alright, let's bring it back.
So yeah, I could advertise it.
Is that our team too?
No, it's not.
No, I don't think so.
Alright, so
Oh,
Yeah, my legs are
this phone, I don't think.
I want to hear about your programs. You can say where you're seated if you want.
Donnie, I don't know if this phone is recording anymore.
It's over there.
There's like
We're all together.
So battery. That's right.
Alright, so what are some of your programs? What'd you come up with? What are your concerns? Yes.
We needed more time to plan. It's like 10 minutes. We wouldn't even finish in 10 minutes.
Okay. Was there anything that came up out of your groups in the time that you were able to meet?
Yeah, we got one real collab. We got LGBTQ women in STEM DJ'd by WCCS. That's our three-way collab. The thought is to do it in the Davis Spencer Cafe because it's near the women in STEM room, but it's still open in the food area enough for people who are just walking by will come.
We would hold it around 7 o'clock, right just as labs are just ending. People are starting to get hungry. They notice the food. It's like, hey, it's not traditional David Spencer Cafe food. Eat it. For cost sake, we get like apps and drinks. And as for advertising, flyers, I guess. One thing I recommend for WCCS's part is advertisement on the radio. Because when I used to DJ it, I would advertise anything that I saw going around. Even events outside of Wheaton, like a food truck event that's right by the church. So that's always a good idea to get advertisements and do your part, even though you are not part of like the Women in STEM or the Alliance.
Yeah. Does anyone have questions about that event or see any concerns that they need to think about? Any logistical things that they should think about?
Please, we are open for any criticisms.
Yeah.
The acquisition of sound equipment.
Yeah, what I was gonna do, we actually have that. We're getting new speakers for that. I would just grab a folding table, computer, my Alexa, and basically just turn on Spotify, say, hey, you want your request? Here you go. Maybe feature some female artists because them, or Alliance artists, stuff like that. That would be very easy to get because we actually have the stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, Jessica.
To finish your think about was one, accessibility, was find the right location on campus that was accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And so we agreed on Haas because you could get into Haas for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing we were thinking about was time. They're kind of thinking about an event like first week, welcome back. And we're kind of thinking like a Monday of Labor Day because that's when everybody's back on campus. So that's what we were thinking of.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I know PAC has thought about too is like the centralization of the Haas and like it being kind of like away from the main part of campus, and sometimes that can be a challenge.
Yeah, it's like some people don't want to go all the way out there, and you know, if it's a bad event, people are like, oh, why did I walk all the way down here? I don't want to walk all the way down there.
I saw some other hands raised as well.
I was thinking about like how you guys are gonna plan on measuring success because things about like DJ or radio, it's like a DJ show, right? Or like a party.
We are just there to get people interest. I mean, this is a collaboration of all three clubs. Alliance and STEM are going to be the main factors. WCCS is sort of the side dish, but music always brings people over. It's something that catches their ear. It's something that's gonna awaken, understand their senses. Because when they come out of like a lab or into Haas, or not Haas, David Spencer at 7 o'clock, there's just gonna be people talking. But then you hear this music and you're wondering, what's going on? Walk down, and then you see all that's going on. You've never seen it before. I'm like, well, I guess we could look at it for like 5 to 10 minutes.
So like an awareness event.
I know, it's an awareness event.
Alright, so then I think because it's an awareness event, maybe like figuring out if you want to build a social media following or build like club member participation. So
I know WCCS has social media. I don't know about Women's STEM Girls Alliance as well. Yep.
yeah, so just maybe measuring something.
Yeah,
because-
absolutely.
And then what kind of activities are you gonna have going on during the awareness event?
We were gonna get to that, but time ran out.
So you said you're gonna hold it in Davis Cafe. What would you do about noise? Because at 7 p.m. labs are still going on.
Are they really?
Yeah,
Labs
labs
are
run until like 9
on
or 10. Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
We would have to look at the calendar.
And it also, Davis closes at 2, and it becomes a ghost town around then, and anyone else who lives in
Yeah.
the building would probably agree. So,
But there are a lot of events in the cafe.
That is true. I did go to a history trivia one when it was a ghost town.
there are events then, that is true, but the noise would have to be something considered because there are labs still going on.
And that's why I would only bring the Alexa instead of just the big bulky thing to make it just quiet enough.
Mm.
All right, so.
Can I get one of the papers, the worksheets?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We get a-
Thank you.
So yeah, so I mean that was one example of an event, and if you notice, there was like so many different factors that doesn't always come present to mind. So we won't have time to go over everyone's, even though I do want to get to. I did want to hear from you all, but I think these are all great ideas. I would take some of these ideas back and maybe continue to talk about them. If you think they were a really great idea, keep talking to them about with the people that you were talking with today. We do have a networking social after 4:15 p.m. today. So if you like these ideas enough, maybe follow up the conversation then and keep talking about like what would make that event successful. We do have a couple more slides and we wanted to get through them, and then we're gonna break so that you all can move around. So, I wish I had time to dive a little bit deeper, but again, we have a short amount of time. But I think that one example kind of gives us kind of an overview of what it looks like when you're planning an event and all of the things you have to think about.
All right, so budgeting, something that everybody, should be keeping an eye on, because when a club runs out of money, you got to pitch to SGA, and it's not really that fun to ask for more money. So tracking expenses is one thing that PAC does a lot. We have like budgeting sheets. It's something that I wish we did a little better for these Welcome Back weekend events. So some real world experiences. We're actually a little over budget and a little bit over from what we had in previous years by about like $3,000. So that's not great because that's something that we can't use for another event and another program. So keeping an eye on that. Negotiation on Saturday, another shameless plug. We are having an outdoor field day event. There's an ice cream truck, and the company that has the ice cream truck was actually really great with working with us. They lowered costs. They're giving us extra stuff like for free just for working with them. So don't be afraid to negotiate. We asked, hey, is there any can you accommodate 1,600 students? And companies are really willing to work with you because they also want to get paid as much as anyone else. Updating budget on Engage, another big thing, because before you know it, you might be out of money. If you don't keep track and if you don't keep updating that sheet, someday you'll hit the negatives, and it's hard to pay back every year if you're 5, 10 in the hole. So another thing to keep on with. And then collaboration, another great thing. I heard the Alliance STEM collaboration was really good. I like that kind of idea. And collaborating cuts costs all across the board. So if a club is collaborating for, let's say, a bus trip, which another shameless plug Sunday. I'm all about shameless plugs today. So on that topic, so on the note of collaboration, let's say another group wants to go to a similar place or a nearby place, having them split the cost for the bus and for tickets and admissions if that's a thing that's going on. So just really making sure, have a collaboration, cuts costs in half for both groups.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, you'd be surprised how many people didn't update Engage and learned later that they had a lot less money than they thought they did. So please, please, please keep your budgets up to date. If I can put an asterisk on anything that we talk about today, it would be this. Yes, Jessica?
Would the treasurer and the president have access to the budget section of Engage?
Yes. And we are going to have, this month, we will have follow-up trainings for presidents, vice presidents, treasurers, and for secretaries. And you'll get information in your email about that next week. So it's really important that you also register on Engage. So if you haven't registered on Engage as the vice president, as the secretary, as the treasurer, it's really important you do so, because that is the main form of communication that SAIL will be using, so that we can disseminate information and let you know about future training. Yes.
Are there like any campus-wide attempts to like normalize the usage of Engage? Because I feel like there's a disconnect. If all of our, I feel like a lot of people don't use Engage on this campus. I didn't use Engage at all last year because like it wasn't a thing, or if it wasn't very well advertised. And I feel like with a platform like Engage that's entirely different from Inside Wheaton and OnCourse, which are like basically like our lives because it contains our coursework. Engage is almost just there, and it's like if you want to use it you can, and if you don't want to use it you'll still find out what's going on. And I think that's part of the problem, because yes, we could put all this information on Engage, or we are going to, but then if people aren't going on Engage to actually see it, it's kind of like and I think that pertains more to the actual events themselves than like budgeting and such, which is more for the cabinet.
Absolutely. So just for the sake of time, I would recommend that anybody who wants to learn more about Engage goes to the Engage session next, because Nicole can walk you through a little bit more about the Engage process and some of the strategies that we'll use this year to get people more often in Engage. So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you all for coming in today. We really appreciate you.
What's next?
Go ahead and reset.
Same as I did this program.
Hey.
So which one did you do?
your voice. I was like, hello.
Yeah, which one did you do?
This one.
Oh, you see, you were sitting there because I did the program.
All right, so Jason, we should be all set with